Allow me to offer a short commentary on commentators. And this is with regards to Barry Morphew, the preliminary trial that he's just gone through. He's up on first-degree murder charges. He's accused of murdering his wife, Suzanne. She went missing over a year ago on Mother's Day 2020 from the couple's Puma Path home in Maysville, Colorado. And so, this is a decent amount of time that's gone by between Suzanne going missing and Barry Morphew's preliminary hearing. So there's been an awful lot going on. It's not as if a crime was committed and 3 days later someone is arrested and things are coming out and it's all very fresh, we're all on the same page. It's quite it's a very particular difficult situation, really, because as we can expect, as is perfectly normal and usual, people are coming in and getting interested in a case at any point in time. People could only learn about it now, today, right? And they've got a lot to catch up on. And we all know what water has gone under these bridges, don't we? There's been a lot. So, the vigils and the searching and journalists' presentations and YouTubers' videos and Reddit threads and, everyone wanting to know what Macy and Mallory are doing and why is Barry grilling a burger, and discussing the women that he's seen in the company of after Suzanne's disappearance, and all the speculation around his bobcat, his movements, the girls' movements, the girls being Macy and Mallory, Suzanne and Barry's daughters. It's just so dense, right? Now, if you're going to moderate a live on your YouTube channel, this isn't a criticism as such. I'm offering you some advice because you have an ethical obligation. This is what some people really just refuse to understand. Maybe they don't have the capacity to understand, but they refuse to understand why Gray Hughes doesn't tolerate bullshit. It is his ethical obligation to not poisoning, what is out there in the world, what information people pick up and run with. We shouldn't be suffering under misunderstandings, misinformation. We shouldn't be trying to understand something that is based on lies, on Machiavellian creations of events, or, I'm not saying as well. We need to be very careful. We have to be responsible. I don't do lives, but I have to monitor my comments section. That's my obligation. If someone was to say, I had Martin Smallwood et al. Where's he these days? Where's Daniel Donovan? But, I had them, he would go banging on about this Broomfield wall. The Broomfield wall that is facing hundreds of apartment buildings where thousands of people live, along a public walkway right near a road, just this very open area. He would bang on about Suzanne being under this wall when we know. I kept saying, so you're saying the bobcat's there, are you Martin? He couldn't answer me. I knew it wasn't there. Martin didn't, and yet he is building this whole synopsis of this whole run of events, and so it's a fantasy. It's Martin's fairy tale, right? And my duty was to not tolerate that in my comment section, because that goes out and then it goes out and then it goes out, and then people still now, they're talking about this damned wall. The possibility that Suzanne is lying buried under that wall. And this doesn't find Suzanne. This doesn't help put Barry in prison permanently. It helps nothing. It's just useless. It's a waste of your energy and time. You should be nipping it in the bud. And because otherwise you're propagating just gossip and, you know, people that are just getting kicks and jollies to discuss such things because they hate Barry Morphew so much, right? Because they, you know, believe that Barry Morphew murdered Suzanne, and they can say whatever they want about what happened. We've got to talk about truth. You know, we can get to justice through truth. Trust us. So when you're moderating your lives, when you're giving people this forum, it's your platform, and people are saying stupid shit like this, you've got to learn to cut it down, and not just be, oh, well, that's interesting. Yes. Ooh, isn't it spooky? You know what we need to know about Broomfield? And if you want to query anything, question it, is what the fuck did FBI or regular law enforcement officers do there, and at what times? They only photographed the place in September 2020, did they? For over a year, I've been saying, oh, well, this will be interesting when we see what's been, you know, pulled out of the drains and what the finger marks show, and was there DNA in a shower, hair down a drain, flesh down a drain, blood down a drain, particular soil down a drain. Nothing, okay? Nothing. So, are these lapses in the investigation going to cost Suzanne Morphew justice? This is what we need to know. They have a plethora of data, and there's kind of two camps. You know, the camp that says Linda Stanley is holding back a lot, and there's the camp that says, well, you're really supposed to lay it all on the table now, and what have they got? Have they shown probable cause? Did she hold back because usually, you know, prelims will go to trial? So she really wants to slam dunk in the trial, and has she got real evidence? When I say that, I mean not circumstantial evidence. We need to be careful when we're talking about a needle sheath. We shouldn't be saying it's a dart gun cap. It's not a dart gun cap. It's a needle sheath that was found in the dryer. Now, this is important. It's not uptight. It's important. Because every time you're saying dart gun sheath, you've got people imagining Barry running around the home chasing Suzanne. Well, don't you think it's more likely he could have stabbed her with a needle? Maybe Suzanne was shooting up painkiller. A lot of people that are going through such agonizing diseases, illnesses, they do move on from pharmaceuticals to other types of drugs, or, you know, illegally gained pharmaceutical drugs, right? They do develop serious drug problems, and Barry isn't wrong to be afraid for Suzanne in that regard, okay? Because many people that have gone through disease like that, illness, develop addictions. It's just a fact. So whilst it's interesting, and it was in there with a pair of shorts that possibly Barry was wearing on the day, whose DNA is on it? There's two people's DNA on the cap. Now, we don't know, we weren't told. Was this the forensic investigators? One of, who, by the way, may have ensured that that piece of evidence is not admissible in the main trial, because he didn't record everything that happened, that he'd touched it, that he'd dropped it. It brings up too much reasonable doubt that, yeah, it was only there after he looked in the dryer on the 19th. You know, I don't know. Our duty, we have a duty. If we're going to be a voice, we have a duty. You know, yes, wild speculation, but you're being clear that it is, right? And explaining the reason for it. But if you're going to let people run their mouths off, labour under misinformation, it's a failure. And it doesn't matter if you just want to create this nice, safe space, like a little women's gossipy circle, you know. It's damaging. You should want more. You should want to discuss things based on what we know is possible, what actually happened. And then, yeah, it brings up a much more interesting and relevant conversation. You can move forward into something that might truly be relevant or useful. You know, people spent a year bitching about the bobcat, you know. You got people going around pointing at rocks, going, wow, this is fascinating, and doesn't it tell you about someone's state of mind? Maybe rocks around the base of newly planted trees are there to stop soil erosion. When wind comes down through valleys, it's usually always a particular way when it's the strongest, and no one wants soil erosion around the newly planted trees until they've taken hold. Who knows? but you know, things we really do, you know, again, I wonder, all along I had been positive law enforcement would have gone to Longhorn Ranch, to Barry Morphew's plot, to his mother's plot, and would have searched, done a walk over that land. Guess what? They never did. To this day, they've never been on his property, the property that the Morphews owned. And Barry has subsequently sold his land for a 10k loss, or 5k, 10k loss. I think he bought it for 160k or something like that. And I feel like he was trying to get in on that development early, because that would be a very lucrative deal. Locals running businesses around that area would not have been happy with this tumbleweed, this cowboy rolling into town and taking over their contracts. So law enforcement officers have never been on that land. Where they went with Andy's search was not on the sections owned by Barry or Shirley. They were 2 blocks down, maybe on some rocks where landscaper Barry put a little corner of rocks. You know how you show entrances to subdivisions, they often have landscaping and the sign saying, you know, Riverside Estate or whatever. And in another area there was a big hoo-ha. Oh, and at River Beach, of course, and that's on the 105. And he could have pulled up a tree. He had the money to pay to replace it and to pay any fines. He didn't. He just blew off back to Indiana, and that was that. And what evidence from that search, from Andy's charade, was in court for the prelim? Something that would have ensured the trial goes ahead. Absolutely nothing. Not one thing that any YouTuber has done was available to help get Barry Morphew to trial in this prelim. There wasn't one skerrick of information. You know, people make a big hoo-ha about Barry Morphew throwing away teal. Guess what? There are images of Barry wearing teal. It's one of his favourite colours. I found several photos. It's a colour that he owns in clothing, okay? And if you don't know what I'm talking about the 5 trash dumps, which, yes, of course, are suspicious. The trash dumps around Broomfield, Hotel Inn Express, at Macca's, etc. So, what cards is Linda Stanley holding? You know, did she get influenced by YouTubers just like they're influencing you? She appears on Profiling Evil. 2 days later, Chris McDozen Salida in time for Barry's arrest. Is there information going either way? He's not the one that discovered Jeff Libler for all that investigation that he did on Barry. No, because all he was looking down on Barry, and he was disparaging everything about Barry's life. About the boy that was born to try. So he's too busy creating Machiavellian twisty puff pieces to actually do real investigation. This should show you a lot, because I think he learned about Jeff Libler the same way he learned about the arrest of Barry Morphew, because he found out at the same time as Linda Stanley came to office. He said it right on his own YouTube channel that he found out 5 months ago. 5 months ago when he said it wasn't November when Law found out about it. It was after Linda Stanley had taken to office and demanded that Chaffey County Sheriff's Office hand over all the information that they had, and she charged ahead. I think, did she get the wind upper with Chris and maybe Mike King and telling her, yeah, you're going to nail this guy to the cross? So, you know, do you feel what do you think she's holding back? Is she holding back fireworks, you know, or firecrackers? This is, you know, very difficult one to decide. So I guess it's just, you know, look, it's none of my business, but it's, you know, and I can't make a request or decree anything. It's just some advice. Take a leaf out of Gray Hughes's book. Just put ego and put whatever else aside. Stop and consider why he does it. What he's trying to do. He's trying to protect truth. Okay? And we know that things go around the world in 80 seconds these days. So do you want to be responsible for allowing, you know, do you want to be sloppy? Do you want to be sloppy? Or do you want to be, do you want to be able to, do you want to have a strong foundation to talk from and to guide your viewers with, so that you can say, oh look, you know, that is interesting, it would be sensational, terrible things happen like that, but let's break this up. How could that happen there? And we've seen that, we're pretty sure she's not there, we know this, you know, I don't know. To accept things like that and to let people gob off about them, it allows other people to hear that, to see that, and go off and just shoot their mouths off everywhere else. And as newbies come in, they discovered cases and they They want to follow Suzanne's story. They want to know what happened to Suzanne. They want justice for Suzanne. You want them labouring when thinking about it with all this falsity and stupidity in their heads. That's not doing justice to Suzanne. You need to be more creative than that, and more current. We've got to talk from what we know now. Okay, what do we have? We've got a lot of phone data. We know Suzanne was having an affair. How good at acting is Barry? I want to know. He is saying that his mind was blown. His heart must have broken again. Even if, why was he going to kill her if not for knowing about her affair, right? So is it the divorce alone? Is it that she was talking about divorce alone? Yeah, possibly, What would send someone over the edge to stop fighting for your marriage in such a way as to either fight for the best outcome possible, to allow you both to live reasonable lives afterwards and without destroying the lives of your daughters, or to fight to create a deep bond again with your partner? Long marriages, these 60-year marriages and 40-year marriages, they don't happen just in this blissful vacuum. They weather the trials and tribulations of life together. Sometimes they disappoint and hurt each other, sometimes there's separations, but it doesn't happen. It happens through work and through understanding that there's good times and bad, right? And this is life. And that was possible for Suzanne, possibly. If there wasn't this third party in her marriage, if she hadn't have invited someone in to have an affair, you have to make yourself available. And so Jeff and Suzanne had both made themselves available. They both could have had difficulties in marriage or just been, who knows, we don't know what Jeff was looking for. We don't know if we should trust what Suzanne and Jeff were saying to each other about wanting to be married to each other. They were having some serious discussions about their life moving forward outside of the marriages that they were both in. So was imminent divorce, enough to frighten Barry to just murder Suzanne? Really? Really? Is he? I know certain people will say, yeah, he's that deranged. He is that deranged. I can't help be suspicious about him knowing about Suzanne's affair. Even when they left Indiana, they packed up in a hurry. Suzanne's telling, at least I can get him away from his affairs. Huh? That's so hypocritical. She had slept with Jeff, I do believe, before she left. Maybe not, but she was already involved with another man. Maybe Barry wanted to get her away to try and protect the sanctity of their marriage. I think there's the danger in being too strict about your religious beliefs and having an obsession about them, really, about what might be right in the eyes of the Father, and in the eyes of the church when it comes to happiness, health and safety and your one and only life. You need, it's not the purity of acquiescence, of following orders. It's not the perfection of being a good worshipper, being a good child of God, and carrying, sticking to every single thing that the church or what you think the Bible is telling you to do. The purity comes from your heart. It's the purity of your heart that will lead and guide you. And because Barry and Susan are both citing that they're very religious, that things go against their vows and their beliefs, and they were, always in such a strange way, just not wanting to say, well, we're human, what's possible for us? What are we capable of doing in reality here in 2020 in our situation? So they end up being unpure of heart. If Suzanne's justified somehow to have an affair rather than seek all sorts of counsel, and Barry, it's possible, has murdered Suzanne. They've broken commandments, the commandments that they're saying, oh, this is really making me not be able to do one thing, not leave this marriage, but they can break these major commandments. What is worse? Isn't it better in the eyes of the church and the Lord, and for the sake of being pure of heart, that things are handled in a mature, moral, ethical, legal way? I'm not casting aspersions on what's moral. I don't want to sound like I am, but to decide that you can have an affair and bring someone into your marriage for so long, in a way that is deep betrayal, no matter what it's giving you as far as reprieve and support. Is that a good thing to do? Is that a pure of heart thing to do? I don't know. I don't want to judge it. I'm not in Suzanne's shoes. I have no idea what it would be like to live with Barry. But, this is the thing again, the way people characterize Barry, people that don't know him and then have seen an intense year of suffering and are judging him on that, and then they're going back to his childhood and judging him on that. Now it's interesting, it developed him who he is, but what did we learn? He did get an addiction to hunting, but hunting was a way out for Barry, out of his low socioeconomic position, possibly, out from under the thumb of a violent and aggressive father. And it was security for him, it was freedom, it was independence, it was a way to support Suzanne, to buy their house outright. It gave him a lot, and it was something he did on his own for himself. And I think, yes, when you're shooting chipmunks, it is way out of control. Maybe it's for target practice, go to a range, I don't know, but I guess if you're living in the wilderness, you've got no one around you for 7 acres, you can shoot a rifle, possibly you'll shoot chipmunks. What I can't stand is the big game hunting, shooting. Why go and kill a bear, Barry? There's the photo of him and Mallory, and he's this black bear that he's slaughtered. That just devastates my heart. But at the same time, there are so many people that will be following this case from, say, within Colorado, or in these heartlands where their fathers are hunters, their brothers are hunters, maybe they're hunters themselves, and sometimes it's a lifestyle that you just can't understand, So I don't think we can judge the hunting itself. I mean, you know, judge it to be something that is so telling about Barry, because many people do it, but it was an obsession for him. Maybe it was an escape, and it was how he earned extra money. He would have been earning money off it to the day he was arrested, probably, with the antlers, with pelts, who knows, right? Hustling to get that 100K that he needed to give back to Jean Mormon, even though the Indiana's home hadn't yet been sold. So it meant a lot to Barry, and this took him away a lot from Suzanne, and this was part of the problem in their relationship, right? But because, you know, and of course there's so many sides to this, because then of course you can say, well, he's got some skills, right? He's got wilderness skills. He knows that area, and he'd know a lot of the Colorado area, I guess, even though he'd only lived there for 3 years, and he's hunted his whole life. He is a wilderness man, and it's skills like this that of course should give us pause and make us wonder. Does it make us wonder he chases someone around their home with a dart gun? That is something I can see he did not do. He wouldn't, because he could have taken a stealth shot at Suzanne. Maybe he wanted her to know what was happening if he's done this and done it that way. But really? I mean, hearing a gunfire, it wouldn't be out of the ordinary, particularly if he's always out there shooting chipmunks and deer, you know. Gunshots there, it's not like you're hearing them in the inner city. So it wouldn't have brought anyone's alert radar on to make them worry or wonder. But I don't think he would do that when it could be said, yes, and there was a single gunshot from the Morphew residence at 11 a.m, blah, blah, you know, at 2:47 a.m. No. It's possible that Suzanne went willingly in the car, because that broken door jam, I think, you know, that should be examined by, it should have been, is this a new split? Can we tell if it's you know what it looks like when it's a new split? How new? Was this analysed? Is there a way to do that? The oxidization of the timber fibre or something at the time? I don't know. But it's possible Barry tricked Suzanne